Welcome to the Guided Expressions podcast with Martin Williams, the place to learn and be inspired to live your best life. Here is your host, Martin Williams.
Hello, everyone. My name is Martin Williams. Thank you for tuning in to the Guided Expressions podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You can subscribe on Spotify. You can also subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, as well as SoundCloud. And I want to, again, thank you for tuning in. And I wanted to jump right into it today. I wanted to talk to you about something that I learned a few years back. And it was something that was really a breakthrough moment for me because I've been studying personal development for some time. And I'm like a kid in a candy store. Whenever I discover new things, it's really, really cool to find out new stuff that I can share with others. And this was something that I learned, like I said, a few years back, has to do with 72 hours, right? So I learned about the 72 hours from a man by the name of Earl Nightingale. And Earl Nightingale is known as the Dean of Personal Development. He had a company along with another gentleman by the name of Lloyd Conant called Nightingale Conant. And for years, if you were a personal development author, you had a program on Nightingale Conant. Some of the people who had programs on Nightingale Conant included Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn, I believe Tony Robbins did at one point. I also believe Wayne Dyer had several programs on Nightingale Conant. And of course, Earl Nightingale had his own programs, had a lot of programs, a lot of which you can listen to on Apple Music or Spotify, and certainly on YouTube at this point. Anyway, he was a very accomplished man. He has since passed away, but he left so much wisdom for all of us. And so I wanted to talk about one of these things that he left for us to learn, and that is, of course, the law of the 72 hours. Now, what Earl Nightingale pointed out is that each of us has roughly 72 hours to work with every single week in which we're neither working or sleeping. This assumes a 40-hour work week, and it also assumes sleeping 8 hours every night. 72 hours to do what you would like to do. Okay? And I truly believe that the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is what they do with those 72 hours. It's easy to complain that you don't have the time or the energy to do the thing that you want to do. But most of us have enough time. Maybe we don't have as much time as we'd like, but we have enough time to do something amazing, to do something productive, to do something that will change our lives and change the lives of those around us. We all have that power. And so it's important that we understand how to use those 72 hours. Time is the greatest resource that we have. It's the greatest value that we have. And like any asset, time has to be invested wisely or it doesn't pay a dividend for us. Okay? So it's important, again, to invest those 72 hours in the best way possible. Now, how should you use your 72 hours? Well, this is the way that I would do it based on my experience. I'm someone who works full-time right now, and I'm also building a business, part of which this podcast is focused on. And so I would use 20 hours a week to build a part-time business that will fund your exit from your job. Most people I know don't really want to stay at their job for an extended period of time. They want to eventually leave their job and start their own business or continue to build their business that they may have started part-time. So 20 hours a week is plenty of time to invest in your business. 20 hours a week, which basically works out to roughly 2.5 hours a day. And of course, you can divvy up those hours however you want. You may decide that working on your business after work is a little rough, which is certainly understandable. You can take maybe an hour during the week, during your work week, and then on the weekends, split up the rest of that time to really devote towards building your business. 7 hours a week for reading. Okay? Reading is very important for your personal development. Okay? The average American does not read one book a year. And so if you want to be above average, if you want to be someone who is above average, who is a high achiever, you're going to have to read continuously. If you decided to read one book a month, you would be in the top 10% of Americans. So it's important that you take the time to read, and 7 hours a week will allow you to read at least one book a month. And now you have audiobooks, so you can even read more than that. My personal recommendation is to read one fiction book and one nonfiction book a month. And I think that will be plenty of time, plenty of reading, rather. 15 hours a week for family and friends, quality time. It's very important that you spend time with your family. You can't work all the time. I mean, you can, but it's not healthy. So it's important that you spend quality time with your family, and also spend time reconnecting with your friends. We're all very busy. We all get into our own mode and our own things, and it's easy to lose contact with friends. So it's important that you take that time to reconnect with friends, if at all possible. 10 hours for physical recreation. That's going to the gym, walking. Personally, I love to walk. Love going for long walks. Very stress relieving, very relaxing, allows me to think, allows me to brainstorm, and it's one of my favorite things to do. 10 hours spiritual rejuvenation. This includes going to church or synagogue or mosque or whatever your persuasion is along with praying and reading spiritual texts such as the Bible and the Torah and whatever your persuasion is. It's very important that we balance our lives out with spirituality. I can't tell you how many times that I've had to learn that the hard way. Working too much or maybe spending too much time doing other things and not taking that time to rejuvenate myself spiritually. And finally, 10 hours for true free time, such as television, just messing around or what have you. Now, if you view these numbers as estimates, there's no hard and fast rule for these numbers. But if you view these numbers as sort of a guide, I think it's a good way to get started, right? Now, if you do this, and that's a big if, but if you do this, you will have invested 1,000 hours in your business in 1 year. If you value your work at least $50 an hour, right, and you put that amount of value into your business, you will reap $50,000 at some point, because the law of compensation, you reap what you sow. Okay, so that's not bad for part-time. If your business can make $50,000 in a year part-time, that's pretty good. Now, if you put more value into your work, right? Let's say you put $100 into each hour, right? Then that means, full attention, full on value, right? Producing products, producing content, or what have you, right? It might take a little longer, but you could expect to reap $100,000, right, from that 1 year of investment. Now, if you take this money and don't spend it, but rather invest some, save some, you would be able to make a pretty comfortable dismount from your job and be able to move right into your business full time with capital and good experience on top of that. So it's important that we learn the power of investing our time. Investing 15 hours of quality time will vastly improve your relationships with your family, with friends, and as I said before, reading will allow you to develop yourself into a leader in your field. So there's really no downside to planning out these 72 hours each and every week. So if you go to guidedexpressions.com /resources, you'll see a Excel spreadsheet in which I break out how to plan this 72 hours each and every week. Now, if you go on vacation and whatnot, you may not be able to adhere to this, but I'm talking about your standard weekly situation. And if you do that, I truly believe that you will change your life drastically for the better within one calendar year. So I'd like to challenge you to do that. I thank you for listening to the Guided Expressions podcast, and I will talk to you soon.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Guided Expressions podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify to get all the latest content from Guided Expressions. No one builds a house without a blueprint, so why are you trying to build your dream life without one? That's why the Blueprint course was created. The Blueprint course is for people who know they were meant for more. Created by Martin Williams, the Blueprint is a streamlined way to help you create the life you've always wanted. Get instant access now by clicking the link in the description box or going to guidedexpressions.com /blueprint.